Spencer. If you're ready,
Alrighty.
go right ahead.
Okay. Since the beginning of time, fire has been the crucial point of humanity's survival. Not only that, but in certain situations, fire becomes more important than food, water. So the basic skill of making a fire without the need of any accelerants such as lighter fluid or gasoline becomes very important to have. I'm a rank of Eagle Scout in Boy Scouts, and in my journey I have made a countless amount of fires, properly and safely, let me mind you, at least maybe one or two that weren't. And today I'm going to go over the basics of fire, the types of tinder, and what to look for when you're making a fire. According to How Stuff Works, any good fire needs three main things: oxygen, a fuel, and a spark to start it all. Oxygen is important because the chemical process that breaks down the components of the fuel require oxygen to produce CO2, which is the smoke that you see when you ever light a fire. So it's probably a good idea to make sure that your fire can actually get air. The next thing a fire will need is something to burn. This can be anything from gasoline to wood. As long as it's dry enough not to put the flames out, and it's made out of some sort of organic substance, it will most likely be okay. And lastly, you need a spark. This can come from a lot of things. I've heard stories of people using an aluminum strip with a 9-volt battery, to people breaking their glasses in half and using the sun. Or, I guess you could do it the easy way, use a match, but that's just silly. Now that I've gone over what a fire needs, we'll go over how to the tinder and kindling and how to build a fire. According to Smokey Bear, the wonderful guru of fires, the base of your fire needs to be made out of tinder. Now, tinder is a dry, light substance that allows the fire to catch and burn long enough that the next progression of the fire will be able to light. My favorite type of tinder is called the bird's nest. Now, you don't actually need to go and climb a tree, knock down a poor bird's nest, kill some eggs, even though you'd make a pretty good omelet. But most of the time, when you're out, you find some dry grass. You wrap it around your wrist, and you make a bird nest type of thing. Place that in the bottom of your fire, and you put smaller sticks around it. They don't have to be any longer than your hand, but just enough to start burning so larger logs can go. After that, you just keep piling up slightly larger sticks until you have the fire of your desire. This can go anywhere from a small campfire to a bonfire for an SOS. Since we've gone over what type of kindling and what type of fuel to look for, I'm going to go over the three basic fires that you should know in case of a survival situation. The first and most iconic type of fire would be the teepee. The teepee gets its name because it looks like a teepee. You first stack a kindling, like a bird's nest, in the middle. Then you start putting twigs up on each other so they lean against each other. You build it out like that. It's one of the most easiest fires to make because it's breathable and it's pretty easy to make. Everybody knows what it looks like, so they have a good idea on what they're doing. This one will also be good if you ever need to make a distress call, but it's not good for cooking that much because you'd have to switch around your cooking material because you can only heat one side at a time. The next one is the log cabin. Basically, if any of you have ever played it with Lincoln Logs, that is the idea. You start with the kindling in the middle, twigs out, and then along the sides, you have your main logs. Now this is pretty good because you can actually get either like a really big stone slab, or if you have cooking supplies with you, you can put the pot on top of that. The only downside to this one is that you have to make sure that your fire will last long enough to actually cook your food. Otherwise, it'll be soupy or cold. Well, it probably won't be cold, but it'll just be, you don't want food poisoning while you're already out there in the cold. And now the last type of fire is a hybrid between the log cabin and the teepee. It's called the lean-to. Basically, you have a large log and you stack smaller twigs along the side of this. This one is good because it takes the best of both worlds. It takes the breathability of the teepee, and it also adds a little bit of better cooking environment for the log cabin. Now that I've talked about the 3 main points of fire, what to look for when you're actually making the fire, and 3 strategies for making a fire, I hope that you will all not starve to death and be cold ever again.
All right.